As we have already seen that most of the transactions, whether they are data entry or report transactions, have an initial screen, or we also refer to it as selection screen, that aims to narrow the scope of the data that we want to work on. On the one hand, if we talk about a data entry transaction, like the VA22, we need to narrow the scope of the data to an exact quotation that we want to work on. On the other hand, if we talk about a report transaction, like the VA25, we need to narrow the scope of the data to a few quotations that we want to analyze. So, if we execute a transaction, we will probably need to manage a selection screen first, and only then we can move to the main screen of the given transaction. To introduce you one of the way of managing selection screens, let's execute a report transaction, for example the list of sales orders, the VA05. This is the selection screen of the VA05 transaction. This is the screen that we have to manage first to move forward to the list screen. What we have on this screen? We have a few input fields, radio buttons and the checkbox. So it means that we can filter the scope of the data to be displayed by entering a specific sorted party, material, purchase order, or we can filter by the document date or even by the different statuses like the open or all sales orders. In addition, we are able to display only the orders that belong to our user IDs. First, let's try to execute the report without touching the selection screen by pushing that small green checkmark button up there. Why did this window pop up? Well, because it has a mandatory field that we must fill up before moving on to the next screen. We must enter a specific sales organization. We can enter a sales organization by typing it manually into the field, or we can use its VOIU help. That's right, most of the selection fields have their own VOIU helps that aim to help the users to choose the desired VOIU from a VOIU list. A selection field has a VOIU help if this small icon appears on its right if we highlight the field. Now in our case, both of the fields have their VOIU helps. To practice, let's display the VOIU help of the sales organizations by clicking on that icon on its right. With this, we listed all the valid sales organizations that exist in our system with their code and descriptions. We have 86 different sales organizations. If we found the desired sales organization in the list, just select it and then push that enter button up there in the top left corner. However, if we have too much hits in the list and we cannot choose or we cannot find it, we can search or we can further restrict the list using the filter that we can invoke by pushing this small downward arrow. With this, we got 3 filter fields. We can filter by code, let's say displaying only the sales organizations whose code start with 3 zeros. Or we can filter by description, let's say displaying only the sales organizations whose name starts with USA. And we can also restrict the length of the list by limiting the number of the rows to be displayed. Now let's remove the length limitation, and then I'm choosing a US sales organization, for example the SL31, and then copy its code into the selection field. This is the only mandatory field that we must fill up, so we can move on and continue the process by pushing that enter button down there. I told you that most of the selection fields have their VOIU helps, but not all of them. For example, the purchase order number field doesn't have any VOIU help. I know this because there is no VOIU help indicator icon for this field, the indicator icon that we can notice at the other fields. So if the field has VOIU help, then let's use it. But if it doesn't, then there is nothing left than manually typing the values into the field. Now let's try to execute our report again. We got a system message in the status bar that says, "Please check the entries, no work list selected." The message means that the USA Los Angeles sales organization has no sales orders for the selected document date period. We have to select a larger period. If you notice, the document date selection field also has a value hub. So let's check it by pushing that button on its right. Now we got a very different value hub, a calendar that helps the user to select a date in a very intuitive way. Let's go back to, let's say, 2010, and then let's press enter. If we execute the report again, then the system informs us about the USA Los Angeles sales organization has no sales orders for the newly selected period either. Then let's try to run the report for a 2000 and 2015 period. Here we go, here is the list. As you could see, the value help is a very useful feature of the SAP GUI. It can boost up your activities greatly, and from now on, no need to memorize any customer numbers, sales organizations, or any other technical code. Although the value helps are super great, but managing the selection screens doesn't mean only using the value helps. So join me to the next clip and I tell you what I'm talking about.